Sergeant First Class James Harper is a Green Beret stationed at Fort Bragg recovering from a knee injury. James is a family man, regularly attending church with his wife Brianne and son James Jr.
Like 1950, a lot. It's a great year. Look at that.
That's you in the airplane? I'm right behind you. Again!
James regularly takes steroid shots to help cope with his bad knee, but this signals the start of his problems when he learns that his entire squad is being called in for a drug test. After the test, James is called before his superiors and his new CO. Due to the drugs in his system for his treatment, James learns that he will be forced to leave the Army and will lose all his health benefits and pension. James is taken aback by this but contains himself and salutes. He breaks the news to Brianne, clearly frustrated, as he is now out of a job and the debts and bills are piling up. James thinks maybe he should consider private contracting, but Brianne reminds him they agreed he would not.
There's real work out there with real money.
The following night, Brianne returns home to see James working on the roof.
Can you come down?
Yeah, I'll come down and...
Mason, he's gone.
She breaks the news to him that another one of his colleagues, Mason, has passed away by ending himself. She becomes concerned for him,
What are you doing on the roof in the middle of the night?
I'm okay.
worried she might lose him next, but James reassures her he is fine. James attends Mason's funeral, where he is approached by former Army Superior Mike Hawkins, who invites James to join his family for dinner.
How do you figure they shoved his giant butt into that? The White Sox.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's little. He was a better soldier. You're my dad.
We looked after each other. He pulled me out of a bar once.
Yeah. He's a rat.
After the meal, the two sit and have a drink, and Mike can see that something is bothering him. James explains the situation, wanting to get his life together, and says he has been considering contracting but feels guilty. Mike, however, thinks nothing of contracting as he has done a few gigs and believes they're just doing what they were trained to do. He explains he currently works for a private military company that contracts with the government, and after hearing the pay and thinking for a while, James wants in. Mike drives James out to a ranch where he meets Rusty Jennings, who runs the private military company. Rusty calls him to talk alone, and he sees his file already out on a table. Rusty has heard a lot about James from Mike and has gone over his file as well as his father's. James thinks his father has nothing to do with him, but Rusty disagrees. He knows firsthand how the government treats people like them, chewing them up and spitting them out, then leaving them to fend for themselves, and James seems to relate to his words. Rusty knows he has multiple offers from private agencies, but notes that none of those jobs would bring him real fulfillment like this one. He explains that he works under the direct authority of the president himself. There is a situation in Berlin that threatens U.S. national security, and a blacked-out team will be led by Mike within 2 weeks from now. James is definitely in, and to sweeten the deal,
Now, Dalton's gonna cut you a check for $50K. So what do you say, you down for the cause?
Thank you.
that night, he tells Brianne about the new job, showing her the large check he received. He claims he will be doing bodyguard work, but Brianne doesn't believe him. He needs a job to take care of the family, but Brianne is now worried he will miss Junior's birthday. A few weeks later, James heads over to a hotel where all his personal items are collected in a Faraday case before he is put on a flight to Berlin. He soon arrives in the city and checks into a small hotel, and soon his handler comes by with his mission. He will be surveilling a Middle Eastern scientist named Salim, suspected of creating biological weapons in the city. James prepares himself and takes the car left for him. He tracks down Salim's address and plants himself in one spot where he has a good vantage point of Salim's goings and comings. He also embeds himself at Salim's workplace, and for the next few days, he collects passwords, photos, and telephone conversations. After a week, James receives a message to leave his post and get to a safe house. James follows the instructions and arrives at the safe house, where he meets up with Mike, Sylvie, and Kaufman, who have pieced together the intel James has received. Salim's research into the effects of viruses in humans caught the attention of Al-Qaeda-linked charity group El Dawa, led by Farouk. Mike, James, and Kaufman will hit Salim's workplace, retrieve him and his intel before they are extracted by Sylvie back to base to carry out interrogation and await further instructions.
The lab only has moderate security.
What happens when we hit jackpot?
Link up with you here. Giddy up.
The team prepares themselves and their weapons and head out in a van driven by Sylvie.
Get ready.
By nightfall, they arrive at a forest next to the facility and push on the location. They surprise a lone guard at his post and restrain him, using his thumbprint to gain access to the building. They move swiftly to the lab, clearing each room along the way until they burst in on Salim in his office. While Kaufman pulls the data, Mike interrogates a scared Salim.
Need to ask you questions. Who else knows the specifics of your work? Where do you back up your work?
It's all in here. It's in these computers.
Demanding to know who else would have access to his computers and where he backs up the intel. Kaufman gets the intel, but then Mike receives an update instructing them to kill Salim, destroy the lab, and make it look like an industrial accident. Mike passes the task of ending Salim over to James, who prepares to inject him with a substance.
Codex. We were never here. Get some.
Sir, I'm a man of science. Do you even know who you're working for?
Salim pleads with him, claiming to just be a man of science, and that his research would save millions of lives. He tells James to take a secret backup of his data in his safety deposit box and look for himself, but James injects him and he slowly dies. They then start a fire in the server room and exit the building as it is being engulfed. They get to the exfil location, but cops intercept them, kicking off a gun battle. Sylvie joins the team in laying down cover fire as they try to retreat back into the woods, but Kaufman is hit. They manage to take out a few cops, but Kaufman is finished off hiding behind a tree.
Fuck.
Mike also gets hit trying to change cover. And to make things worse, cops have called in SWAT. Sylvie is captured, but James takes her out. James locks in and hits the incoming cops with rapid fire before throwing a grenade and throwing Mike over his shoulder, escaping into the woods. With the cops hot on their trail, James and Mike ditch their heavy gear and start crossing a river. They find a sewer pipe, and James checks it out first before dragging a weakened Mike behind him. Luckily, Mike survives the journey, and they make it into the sewer system, where James tends to his wounds. James can't believe they killed cops, but Mike thinks they did what they needed to do. Mike has lost a lot of blood and is on the verge of death. He tells James to leave him behind and secure the intel, but James refuses to leave him, planning to give him blood. James draws his own blood and sets Mike up, and they wait there underground. Later, Mike is doing much better, but James's bad knee starts affecting him, and he is unable to walk. This time, James tells Mike to go on ahead with the intel, and Mike agrees, promising to return to get him, but James plans to catch up to him and just needs time to rest. Mike makes him promise not to get himself killed before disappearing into one of the nearby pipes. James rests up until morning before popping some pills and exiting the sewers. He exits the river and starts covering himself with mud to mask his scent when he hears a gunshot in the distance. It is a father and son hunting nearby, so James finds their truck and steals some food and clothes. He waits until nightfall before changing and heading into town to the hotel that Mike had told him about. Inside, he finds a note from Mike that the handoff has been made and a passport. After falling asleep in the tub, James draws fluid from his knee and injects himself with steroids for the pain. The note said Mike would be back by 10 the next morning, but James sees or hears nothing from him and decides to leave. He heads back into town, carefully checking his surroundings before purchasing a burner phone to contact Rusty, only to learn that Mike did not make contact. Rusty plans to send an extraction team for him and wants his location, but James feels something is off. Rusty insists that he wants to get James home safe and gives him the location where to meet his extraction team.
For the water, down towards the Elson Bridge.
James gets to the location, and Rusty tells him to look for a brown BMW, but James picks up some other movement close by.
I'm at the Elson Bridge, northwest corner.
He wonders how Rusty arranged his exfil if Mike never made it back and suspects that Rusty must have killed Mike, but Rusty demands he get in the car. James decides to disappear, but suddenly men nearby open fire on him. He soon surfaces when men on bikes start racing toward him, opening fire. He knocks one of the men from their bikes and disarms him, but now men on foot begin shooting at him and closing in. James shoots his way into the sewer system, smashing the lights as he runs along the tunnel. Two men have made their way into the sewers, but James finds a dark corner and lay-waits the men. They get close, so James jumps into action and kills both men. He checks their pockets only to realize the men are former Marines. He interrogates one of the dying men and learns that his original orders were extraction, but changed on the bridge to termination. Mike was also picked up, but his fate is unknown. The man takes out a picture of his family, but on the back, he shows James a number he can call to get help and warns that another team is on the way, giving James a chance to escape. The man swears he had no idea he would be killing an American, as Rusty just told them he would make them all richer. James sends a message from the man's phone confirming his extraction. Then takes a train to an empty train station where he rests for the night. James recalls Salim's words about his backup drive and tracks down his home. He enters using the code and lures his widow, Sophie, to the door, promising not to hurt her if she leads him to where Salim kept his research. She tells him it is in a safety deposit box in town, so James tells her to get her son ready and drive him there. They drive to the location, and Sophie wants to bring her son in with her, but James forces her to go alone. The boy wonders if he was Salim's friend and is sad at his death, and James tells him yes, and genuinely seems that way. Sophie soon returns to the car with a tablet, and he has her answer all the security questions to gain access before exiting the car on the highway. That night he uses a payphone to call the number on the back of the Marine's photo, and the person gives him a location for extraction. Later, a man named Virgil arrives at the location, reassuring James that he will help him, and when James gets in, Virgil knocks him unconscious. James wakes in a safe house bound to a bed with medical instruments attached to him. Virgil shows him his stuff intact, reassuring him he isn't a threat, and once James calms down, Virgil releases him from his bounds. James wants to go home, but Virgil tells him he can never return home. Later he watches a video of Salim on the tablet, where Salim confirms that he was actually working on an H5N1 vaccine, but powerful people were trying to stop him before he could release his life's work to the public. A few nights later, James joins Virgil for dinner as usual.
You ever been to Hindu Kush? I thought I was in Colorado when I first saw it.
How long you been out here?
My wife, two beautiful girls. We all know the monster.
The two are talking about James's tour in Afghanistan and sharing stories when Virgil is suddenly shot in the head. James drops to the ground as the lights go out. As the hit team closes in, James rigs the gas to explode in a few minutes. As the team breaches the building, James jumps through the second-floor window and takes off running toward a car just as a massive explosion rips through the house. James drives until morning and manages to get himself back into the USA. He then goes by Mike's home, only to see him living comfortably with his wife and kids. The next day, James follows Mike from his home and into a public parking lot. He follows Mike's car from a distance to the top of the lot, but when he gets there, Mike attacks him and holds him at gunpoint until James removes his helmet. Mike seems shocked to see him, but James accuses him of setting him up and reveals he knows they were sent to steal the cure to the virus. Mike reveals Rusty told everyone James was dead, including his wife and kid, and they are to receive a payout, and warns that Rusty will send everything after him if he knows he's alive. James is pissed and holds Mike at gunpoint, reminding him how he bled for him, and this is the thanks he gets. James breaks down in tears, revealing that this was his fear, disappearing from his family like his father did to him, and now Mike has put him in this situation. James wants to put an end to Rusty, and Mike agrees to help him. Mike drives over to Rusty's compound and gains access through the front gate as normal. He approaches a group of men standing casually, then swiftly guns them down. James jumps from the back of the van and begins to push on Rusty's home while he shoots at Mike from a window. James enters the home carefully, gunning down one mercenary and getting into a fight with another. Outside, Mike is hit trying to push on Rusty and falls, but he manages to hit Rusty in the stomach. Mike tries to stand, but Rusty shoots him again. James finishes off the last man and goes hunting for Rusty to find him already dying from his gunshot wound and guns him down. James pulls Mike into his van, promising to get him help, but they both know he is done for and taking his last ride. Mike gives him a message for his son before he dies from his wounds. James burns the car with Mike inside on the side of the road. With Rusty now dead, James returns home. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more recaps just like this. And hey, don't click away just yet. YouTube thinks you'll love one of these 2 videos popping up right here, so check them out next.